Why does she have to be so embarrassing? The words cut through the noise of the packed auditorium like a knife through butter. My daughter didn't whisper it. She didn't wait until we got home. She said it into her phone, loud enough for the parents around us to hear. I felt every head turn, every eye land on me. My hands were raised mid-clap, frozen in the air like a statue. The blue dress I'd worked double shifts to buy hung perfectly on Lila's frame. The tickets I'd skipped meals to afford had gotten us the best seats. I cheered the loudest when they called the finalists. And in one sentence, I became the problem. Not her proud mother. Not her biggest supporter. The embarrassment. I slowly lowered my hands. The applause around me continued, but mine had stopped. For the first time in 13 years, I stopped clapping for my own daughter. My chest tightened. My throat burned. But I kept my face neutral. Because that's what mothers do. We shrink ourselves to make our children comfortable, even when it tears us apart inside. My name is Carmen Martinez. I'm 39 years old, though some days I feel much older. I've raised Lila alone since she was 6 years old. Her father left on a Tuesday morning after promising he'd only be gone for the weekend. That weekend turned into forever. I work at St. Anne's Hospital in the laundry department. 10-hour shifts folding sheets that smelled like bleach and disinfectant. My hands stayed dry and cracked no matter how much lotion I used. Every school trip, I paid for. Every art supply she needed for her projects, I found a way. I picked up extra hours when other workers called in sick. I traded shifts to attend every parent-teacher conference. I missed sleep, not recitals. I missed meals, not school plays. My shoes had holes in the soles I covered with cardboard. My purse was older than my daughter, but Lila never went without. She had the art supplies, the nice clothes, the experiences her friends had. I never cared if I looked tired. I never cared if other parents had newer cars or better jobs. Until that night. Until I saw myself through her eyes. And realized I was the one thing she wanted to hide. The high school auditorium was packed with families. Mothers in designer dresses and fathers in press suits. They held expensive cameras and compared college plans in hushed voices. I sat in the third row wearing my best outfit. A black blouse I'd owned for 8 years and gray pants from a thrift store. My shoes were clean but worn. My hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. I thought I looked fine. But when Lila glanced back at me during the finalist lineup, her smile faded. She mouthed a single word. Stop. Stop what? Stop clapping. Stop smiling. Stop being proud. I wasn't sure. But I obeyed. I folded my hands in my lap. I stopped cheering when they announced her name. I became invisible. Just like she wanted. Her friend beside her giggled. Your mom is so extra, she whispered. But it wasn't really a whisper. I heard every word. So did the mother sitting next to me. She gave me a sympathetic look. But sympathy doesn't heal shame. Principal Andrews stepped to the podium, wearing a navy suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. His voice boomed through the speakers. Tonight, one of our talented finalists will receive the Creative Arts Leadership Award. The crowd applauded. Parents held up phones to record their children. I kept my hand still. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. But before we announce the winner, we have a special presentation. We will hear from a parent whose dedication inspired our decision this year. My heart pounded. What did that mean? Who was he talking about? This parent has shown commitment and sacrifice that reflects the true heart of our school community. My palms started sweating. Lila shifted uncomfortably in her seat on stage. 4 years, Mrs. Carmen Martinez has volunteered behind the scenes. Painting sets, sewing costumes, cleaning up after events. Never asking for recognition. My ears started ringing. How did he know about that? I never told Lila. I never wanted her to feel different or pitied. Mrs. Martinez, would you please join us on stage? My name echoed through the auditorium. Every head turned toward me. Hundreds of eyes. Hundreds of faces. All staring. Waiting. I couldn't move. My legs felt like concrete. Lila's face had gone completely pale. Her eyes were wide with panic. Mom, please don't, she whispered desperately, even though I was 3 rows away. Her friend leaned over. This is going to be so awkward. The words hit me like cold water. But something shifted inside. Not anger exactly. Not revenge. Just a quiet decision. I stood up. My legs trembled. The walk to the stage felt longer than my entire life. I heard whispers trailing behind me. That's Lila's mom. She works here too. I didn't know she was the janitor. Not janitor. Laundry worker. But it didn't matter anymore. Principal Andrews met me at the stairs. He handed me the microphone. His smile was encouraging. My hands shook as I took it. I looked out at the sea of faces, then at my daughter. And I made a choice. Good evening, I said softly. My voice cracked on the second word. The microphone made it echo across the room. I didn't know I'd be speaking tonight. I'm not really prepared. A few people laughed nervously. I took a breath. My name is Carmen Martinez. I'm not used to microphones. I'm used to folding laundry. More laughter rippled through the crowd. But it was warmer now. Not mocking. I work at St. Anne's Hospital. I clean sheets and uniforms. Scrubs. Blankets. Things most people don't think about. I paused. My throat was tight. And sometimes, when the school needs extra help, I come here after my shift. I'm 39 years old, and I've been doing this for 7 years. The room had gotten quieter. People were actually listening. My daughter doesn't always know that I volunteer. I didn't want her to worry. I didn't want her to feel different. I looked directly at Lila. Her eyes were filling with tears. I just wanted to show up, even when it wasn't glamorous, even when nobody noticed. Silence spread across the auditorium. For the first time that night, nobody was whispering. Nobody was judging. They were just listening. I grew up in a house where nobody came to school events. I continued. My voice was stronger now. My parents worked 3 jobs between them. They couldn't take time off for assemblies or plays or awards nights. I swallowed hard against the memory. So when my daughter performs, I clap loudly. Maybe too loudly. A few parents smiled. Some nodded. I wave like I'm at a parade. I cheer like she just won the Olympics. My eyes burned with tears I refused to let fall. I never meant to embarrass her. I just never wanted her to feel invisible the way I did. The mother who'd given me the sympathetic look earlier was crying now. Sometimes the loudest cheer comes from the person who had to fight the hardest to be there. My voice cracked again. And I fought to be here tonight. Applause started. Just a few people at first. Then more. Then the whole auditorium was clapping. Not for my speech. For something deeper. For recognition. For seeing me as a person, not just a background character in their children's lives. I'm proud of my daughter, I said over the applause. It gradually quieted. Not just because she's talented. She is. But because she's kind. She's strong. She dreams big. I took a step. Closer to the edge of the stage. And if being proud looks embarrassing to some people, I'll accept that label. Heads nodded throughout the crowd. I don't wear designer clothes. I don't drive a nice car. I don't always say the right things in the right way. My eyes found Lila's again. But I show up. I've always shown up. And I will always show up. The applause grew louder this time. Not the polite clapping you do because you're supposed to. Real applause. The kind that means something. Lila's friend had lowered her phone completely. Her expression had changed from mockery to something else. Respect. Maybe. Or shame. I handed the microphone back to Principal Andrews. My hands were still shaking. But I felt different. Lighter somehow. Like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't know was there. And finally put it down. Principal Andrews returned to the podium. He smiled at me as I started to walk off stage. One moment, Mrs. Martinez. I stopped. I think everyone here would agree that true leadership comes in many forms. He opened a large envelope. And now, for the Creative Arts Leadership Award. The audience leaned forward. This year's recipient has shown exceptional talent, dedication, and growth. He paused for effect. The award goes to Lila Martinez. Gasps echoed through the auditorium. Applause exploded. I felt tears finally break free and roll down my cheeks. Lila sat frozen in her seat among the other finalists. She looked shocked, terrified, overwhelmed. Slowly, she stood up. Her legs seemed unsteady as she walked toward the stage. When she reached the stairs, Principal Andrews handed her a beautiful plaque with her name engraved on it. She held it with trembling hands. Then she surprised everyone. Instead of just accepting it and walking off, she turned to the microphone. Her voice was barely a whisper at first. "Can I say something?" Principal Andrews nodded and stepped aside. "I didn't know my mom volunteered here," Lila said quietly into the microphone. The auditorium fell completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. "I didn't know she came here after working 10-hour shifts at the hospital." Her voice was shaking. "I didn't know she painted the sets for our spring play, or sewed costumes for the winter musical." She looked at me standing at the side of the stage. Tears streamed down her face. I thought she was just loud and embarrassing. A few nervous laughs scattered through the crowd, but I guess she was just proud. Her voice broke on the last word, and I was too worried about what other people thought to see that. The room was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. "Mom, I'm sorry." She turned fully toward me now. "I'm sorry if I ever made you feel small, or ashamed, or like you weren't enough." My own tears were falling freely now. "Because you're everything." The applause that followed was deafening. It seemed to shake the walls. Parents stood up, then students, then everyone. A standing ovation. 11. When we finally stepped off the stage together, parents swarmed us. Hands reached out to shake mine. Voices called congratulations. "You raised an incredible daughter," one mother said. "That was the most moving speech I've ever heard at a school event," another added. "You're an inspiration, Carmen," a father told me. I felt overwhelmed by the attention. But the most important voice was beside me. "Mom," Lila whispered, her hand gripping mine tightly. "I didn't mean what I said earlier. I'm so sorry." I squeezed her hand back. "I know, sweetheart." But I also knew something else now. Something important. Respect doesn't grow in silence. It doesn't grow when we shrink ourselves. It grows when we stand in truth, even when that truth is uncomfortable. The crowd continued congratulating us as we made our way toward the exit. Lila didn't let go of my hand the entire time. She didn't rush ahead. She didn't hide behind me. She walked beside me, proudly, and that meant more than any award ever could. The drive home was quiet at first. Just the sound of the car engine and the occasional streetlight flashing past. Lila stared out the window, her award resting in her lap. Finally, she spoke. "I didn't know you worked that hard." Her voice was small, almost childlike. "I didn't want you to worry," I said gently. "That's what parents do. We handle things so you don't have to." She turned to look at me, but I should have known. I should have paid attention. I kept my eyes on the road. "You're a kid? You're supposed to think about kid things. School. Friends. Your future." "I guess I only saw what my friends saw," she admitted quietly. "And what was that?" I asked. "That you were different from their parents." I smiled softly. The words didn't sting anymore. "Different isn't always bad, Lila." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "No, I guess it's not." We drove the rest of the way in comfortable silence, the kind that feels peaceful instead of awkward. When we pulled into our apartment complex, she finally said, "I'm really proud to be your daughter." School was different the next morning. I walked Lila to the entrance like I always did, but this time, parents greeted me warmly. "Mrs. Martinez, wonderful speech last night. Carmen, your words really touched me. Thank you for everything you do." Teachers I'd never spoken to stopped to thank me. The principal waved from across the parking lot. Even the security guard said, "You did good, Mrs. Martinez." Lila walked beside me without rushing ahead. She didn't check her phone every 5 seconds. She didn't scan the crowd nervously. Her friend Ashley approached us near the entrance. The same girl who'd called me so extra the night before. "Hi, Mrs. Martinez," Ashley said, her voice quieter than usual. "Your speech last night was really amazing." She looked embarrassed. "I'm sorry if I said anything mean." I smiled at her. We all say things we don't mean sometimes. "Thank you for apologizing." Lila watched this exchange with new eyes. When Ashley walked away, my daughter turned to me. She's been my best friend since 3rd grade, and she never apologized to me that fast. "Maybe she learned something last night," I suggested. "Maybe we all did," Lila replied. That evening, we sat at our small kitchen table. The same table where we'd eaten countless dinners, done countless homework assignments, had countless conversations. But this one felt different. More important. I want to understand, Lila said, pulling out my work schedule from my bag. She'd never asked to see it before. I watched her study the hours, the overtime shifts, the back-to-back doubles. Her finger traced the tiny numbers. You work 60 hours some weeks. Her voice was shocked. Sometimes more, I admitted. When did you sleep? Whenever I could. She flicked through more pages, saw the evidence of years of sacrifice laid out in black and white. You did all this for me. Her eyes were filling with tears again. For us, I corrected gently. I did it for us. For our life together. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I didn't know, Mom. I didn't know any of this. You didn't need to know. You just needed to be a kid. To focus on school and friends and growing up. But you were growing older, she whispered. Alone. The following week, Lila had another performance. A small showcase for the art department. Nothing as big as the awards night. But still important. When her name was called, I clapped loudly. I waved both hands above my head. I cheered like she'd just won everything. For a moment, I worried. Old habits are hard to break. But then Lila looked directly at me from the stage. And laughed. A genuine, happy laugh. She bowed dramatically in my direction, gesturing toward me like I was the star. The crowd laughed with her. Not at me. With us. Other parents joined in my enthusiastic applause. Someone behind me shouted, Go Lila! Another parent whistled. The whole atmosphere had shifted. I wasn't the embarrassing mom anymore. I was just a mom who loved her daughter. And somehow, that made it okay for everyone else to show their love too. After the showcase, Lila ran up to me. Did you see what I did? She asked, grinning. I saw, I said, hugging her tight. Thank you for not hiding anymore, she whispered into my shoulder. Something changed in me after that night on stage. I stopped shrinking. Not just for Lila, but for myself. I started walking taller, looking people in the eye. When I volunteered at school now, I didn't hide behind curtains or work when nobody was around. I painted sets in broad daylight. I helped with costumes while parents picked up their kids. I stood in the light instead of the shadows. Other parents started talking to me. Real conversations. Not just polite hellos. How long have you been volunteering? What made you start helping with the drama department? Would you be interested in joining the PTA? I never imagined being part of the PTA. That felt like something for the other parents. The ones with nice jobs and free time. But they wanted me there. Not despite my job. Because of my dedication. The principal called me into his office one afternoon. Carmen, would like to formally recognize you as Parent Volunteer of the Year. I almost cried right there in his office. Recognition I never asked for, but acceptance I desperately needed. I found out later from another parent that some mothers used to mock me. Before the awards night, they'd make jokes about the cleaning lady who volunteered at school, who cheered too loud, who wore the same outfits repeatedly. One father told me, they called you that overly enthusiastic woman in the parent group chat. But after my speech, everything changed. The mockery stopped. Not because I demanded respect. Not because I called them out. But because I claimed my dignity. I owned my story without shame. The same parents who'd made jokes started defending me when new parents didn't know who I was. That's Carmen Martinez. She's incredible. She works full-time and still volunteers more than anyone. Her daughter won the Arts Award. They are both amazing. I didn't need their validation. But it felt good anyway. To be seen as a person. As someone who mattered. Not just someone in the background folding their children's gym uniforms. Lila noticed the change too. People talk about you differently now, she observed one day. They talk about me at all. I asked, surprised. Mom, you're kind of famous at school. Lila began asking questions about my life. Real questions. Not just, what's for dinner? Or can you drive me to Ashley's? She wanted to know about my childhood. My dreams. What I wanted to be when I was her age. Did you always want to work at a hospital? She asked one evening. We were sitting on our tiny balcony watching the sunset. No, I admitted. I wanted to be a teacher. Why didn't you? Life happened. Your dad left. Bills needed to be paid. The hospital was hiring. I paused. Sometimes we don't get to follow our dreams, but we can help our kids follow theirs. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I want to help you follow yours too. How? I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. We talked more after that. About my parents. About growing up poor. About feeling invisible. She listened in a way she never had before. With her whole attention. Not half listening while scrolling through her phone. Really hearing me. For the first time, we weren't just mother and daughter. We were two people understanding each other. One evening, while helping with homework, Lila said something that stopped me cold. I think I was embarrassed because you reminded me how hard life can be. I looked up from the math problems we were reviewing. What do you mean? All my friends' parents have easy jobs. They work in offices or from home. They have nice cars and take vacations. She struggled to find the right words. You reminded me that we're not like that. That life is hard. That we struggle. I nodded slowly. And now I see that struggling doesn't mean failing. She met my eyes. It means fighting. And fighting takes strength. My throat tightened with emotion. When did you get so wise? I learned from the strongest person I know, she said simply. We finished her homework in comfortable silence. But something had fundamentally shifted between us. She wasn't ashamed of our life anymore. She was beginning to see the beauty in our struggle. The dignity in hard work. The value in showing up, even when it's difficult. Months passed after the awards ceremony. Lila transformed in ways I never expected. She became more confident. Kinder to others. Especially to kids whose parents were different. Kids whose families struggled financially. Kids who wore the same clothes repeatedly. Kids who brought packed lunches instead of buying cafeteria food. One day, I picked her up and found her defending a boy in her class. His mother cleaned houses for a living. Some students were making fun of him. At least his mom shows up, Lila said firmly. At least she works hard to give him opportunities. That's more than some people can say. She told me about it on the drive home. I never realized how mean kids can be about money, she said. I used to be one of those mean kids. But you're not anymore, I pointed out. Because you taught me better. Even when I wasn't listening. She looked at me. I'm listening now, Mom. That afternoon felt like a victory. Not a loud one. But the quiet kind that matters most. The kind that means real change has happened. At the next school assembly, something unexpected happened. Principal Andrews announced a new volunteer recognition program. We'd like to thank all parents who contribute to our school community, he said from the podium. And to honor this commitment, we're creating the Martinez Award for Parental Dedication. My heart stopped. An award with my name. This annual award will recognize parents who give their time and energy behind the scenes, who work quietly to make our school better. Lila grabbed my hand in the audience. She was beaming with pride. The first recipient of the Martinez Award is, appropriately, Carmen Martinez herself. Everyone stood and applauded. I walked to the stage again. But this time, I wasn't afraid. This time, I belonged there. This school has given my daughter opportunities one never had, I said into the microphone. Volunteering here isn't a sacrifice. It's an honor. When I returned to my seat, Lila hugged me tightly. They named an award after you, she whispered. That's incredible. You're incredible, I whispered back. And I meant it. Because her transformation made all my struggles worth it. The changes at home were subtle but meaningful. Lila started helping more with chores. Not because I asked, but because she wanted to. She noticed when I was tired, when I needed help, when I was carrying too much. Mom, sit down. I'll make dinner tonight, became a regular occurrence. You worked all day. Let me do the dishes. I can clean my own room. You don't have to do everything. She'd also started talking about college differently. I want to study something that helps people, she said one evening. Like what? Maybe social work. Or teaching. Something that makes a difference. You can be anything you want, I reminded her. I know. But I want to be someone like you. Those words healed something in me I didn't know was broken. All those years of worrying I wasn't enough. That I couldn't give her what other parents could. That my best wasn't good enough. She saw me now. Really saw me. And she wanted to be like me. Not despite my struggles. Because of them. The most surprising change came at our next parent-teacher conference. Usually, I attended alone. But this time, Lila asked to come. I want to hear what they say about me, she explained. And I want them to meet you properly. We walked into the classroom together. Her teachers greeted me warmly. They already knew me from volunteering. But this felt different. Lila has shown remarkable growth this semester, her English teacher said. Her empathy essay was one of the best I've read in 20 years of teaching. What was it about? I asked. Lila looked embarrassed but proud. It was about you, Mom. About what I learned from you. She handed me a copy. I read it right there in the classroom. It talked about sacrifice, about dignity, about how true strength isn't loud or showy. It's quiet and constant. It's showing up even when you're exhausted. It's loving someone so much that you'd give up everything for their happiness. By the end, I was crying. Her teacher smiled. She submitted it to a state writing competition. It won first place. Lila, I whispered. Why didn't you tell me? I wanted it to be a surprise. That night, I hung her award on our refrigerator, right next to her art scholarship plaque. Our tiny apartment might not be fancy, but it was filled with love, with achievement, with pride. Mom, Lila said, sitting beside me on our worn couch. I've been thinking. About what? About what you said that night. About showing up. She took a breath. I want to start showing up for you too. You already do, I said. No, I mean really showing up. The way you showed up for me. She pulled out her phone and showed me something. A GoFundMe page. What's this? I asked. It's to help you take teaching classes, so you can follow your dream. My heart stopped. Lila, you don't have to. I want to. People want to help. My teachers, friends' parents, even Ashley's family donated. The page already had $1,500. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. You spent your whole life making my dreams possible, she said softly. Now it's my turn to help with yours. I pulled her into a hug and cried into her shoulder. Sometimes the most embarrassing thing a parent can do is remind everyone who they really are. But sometimes that embarrassment transforms into something beautiful. Into respect. Into love. Into a daughter who sees her mother clearly and chooses to honor her. 6 months after that night in the auditorium, my life looks different. I'm taking online teaching courses, working toward my degree. It'll take years, but I'm doing it. Lila studies beside me most evenings. Both of us with textbooks open. Both of us working toward our futures. We're going to make it, Mom, she says sometimes. And I believe her. Because we already have. We made it through the hard years. Through the embarrassment. Through the shame. And came out stronger on the other side. My daughter once said I was embarrassing her in public. So I stepped up to the microphone. Not to shame her. Not to prove her wrong. But to stand in my truth. And that truth changed both of us. Because sometimes the most powerful thing we can do isn't to shrink ourselves. It's to stand tall. To take up space. To let our love be loud, even when it's uncomfortable. I still cheer loudly at her performances. I still volunteer at school. I still wear my same old clothes and drive my same old car. But now, I do it without shame. Because my daughter taught me something that night. Pride isn't something to hide. It's something to celebrate. And somewhere tonight, another parent is cheering too loud. They're wearing worn-out shoes. They're working extra shifts. They're making sacrifices that children don't see. To them, I say this. Keep cheering. Keep showing up. Keep being embarrassingly proud. Because someday, your child will understand. And when they do, that understanding will be worth every uncomfortable moment. Every whispered judgment. Every time you wanted to hide. Stand tall. The microphone is waiting.